The flipping and wholesaling houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses, or if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. So I got a question. I posted a video about direct mail, and he said, speaking of direct mail, you mentioned if your first batch is not good, try another list. How do you specifically know what is good and what is not? Say in a list of 2 to 5K, what should the average response from each time be? So, okay, first of all, I would say this is the problem, right? The problem is that a small batch like 2,000 is really small. But in general, the numbers about approximately lately are that if you send out let's just pick a round number of 10,000 pieces of mail, you should get a little bit less than 0.5% response rate. So what's that? 10,000, 10% 1,000, 1% 100, 0.5%. You get about 50 responses, with about half of them being angry and the other half being leads. So 10,000 should get you around 20 to 25 leads. Now, they may not all be great leads, but there'll be people who want to sell. And again, how you define a lead is up to you. I define a lead as somebody who has a house in an area, who wants to sell a house in an area that I want to buy. But again, I take listings. You may not. So might end up with even less. Now, if you send it a batch and it's not good. So if you send it a batch and it's not good, I would say what's not good is that nobody responds. I check the first thing to check is the phone number, right? I've screwed that up and put the wrong phone number on it. Also check what's happening with that phone number. I would not recommend it goes to your cell. It should probably go to a Google, if you don't have a CRM, that's a client retention management software, then you should forward it to a Google Voice number that maybe forwards to your cell. Or it should be a Google Voice number that forwards to your cell. And you should track it on Google Voice, which is free with a Gmail account. And that's how I would check it. And it'll record any messages. There are a lot of people that believe it should go straight to voicemail. I personally think answering live is better, but I understand the thinking that I don't want to be tied to this phone, so I'm going to allow everything to go to voicemail, and then I'm going to just call them back. It's okay, right? The truth is, it's not. You can't treat every marketing channel the same, right? So PPC, pay per click is there's some urgency. They're looking for you. With direct mail, you sent the mail to them, but they could be getting 50 other pieces. You don't know. That's why I think it's better if you answer those calls live, but calling them back quickly is really important. I think, impact of speed on a call conversion rate is like crazy. I have it actually in front of me. If you call back a lead within 1 minute, you have like a 391% chance more to get them than if you call back 24 hours. Like, it's some crazy thing. So you want to call these people back as soon as you can. You have to expect that some people, that even if they leave you a message that sounds great, so it says, hey, I want to sell my house right away, call me, it's 123 Main Street, my name is John Smith, they still may never take your call. That's why I think answering live is better. There are people who just won't, they just change their mind or whatever happens. And sometimes you can answer live and then they'll change their mind. But it's very frustrating, and this is a fact of life that you can't avoid. You're going to have leads that you think are good that are never going to respond to anything. You pretty much have to follow up them forever. But it's also feasible today where it's very easy to block, that they blocked your number and you're never going to get in touch with them. So it's an issue. It happens to me. I just had a lead that I thought was great, and dead, no response. Finally, after like 6 months, they said, change your mind or whatever. So I'm still going to follow up with them forever. I think it's important that you understand follow-up is forever. It's not for 6 weeks. It's not for 6 days. It's forever. Someone raises their hand and says they want to sell, they probably aren't ready if they are not talking to you in depth about it. But that doesn't mean they won't be ready in 6 months or a year, and you have to be top of mind. So the general rule for follow-up, and I know that's not the topic of this conversation, but the general rule for follow-up is you want to touch leads no less than a month. Don't let a month go by. And the general rule for what you're saying on follow-up, which is really important, you do not want to belabor any point, right? People think I'm going to follow up if I'm calling a list of if I'm calling a list of foreclosures, I'm going to talk to them and go, well, what's going to happen to your house? It's in foreclosure. Don't ever mention pain points to them. When you follow up, the only thing you want to say is, hey, I'm just calling to see if anything changed. That's it. That's it. Now, if they told you specifically, hey, I'm waiting because I need to talk to my sister, and my sister is going to, I want to sell, but my sister doesn't, then you might want to say, hey, I'm just calling up to see if anything changed with your sister. But, 1 second. But you don't want to talk about pain points, because What a lot of leads, the situation a lot of leads are going through is that they have some kind of pain point. For example, foreclosure. Let's take that as an example. They're not calling you back or calling anyone back, even though they're getting tons of mail, tons of calls, tons of texts, because they don't want to deal with it, right? They want to push it off. If you call and mention that pain point, then every time you call is going to be a negative experience for them. You don't want that to be a negative experience. You want every experience that a seller has with you to be a positive experience. It's another reason why I tell people when they go on appointments, don't, there are gurus out there that say, oh, just look at everything negative and go, and take a picture of it, that kind of thing. People aren't stupid. That's negative too. Certainly going out and pointing out, oh, this needs a lot of paint. Oh, this needs a lot of work. That's a horrible, horrible, horrible approach to seller appointments, right? You don't want it to be a negative experience. You want it to be a positive experience. And I never talk about bad things, right? I go there and I go, this isn't so bad. Sometimes they'll tell me on the phone when I tell them to rate it out of a 10, 1 out of 10, they'll say, oh, it's a 2. And I'll get in there and I'll go, it's not a 2. I've seen 2s. This is like a 6. It's not bad. And they feel so much better. Right. You got to understand a lot of the psychology behind why sellers sell property at discounts is because they don't want anybody else to say, like, how does anybody live like this? Like, this is disgusting. That's what they don't want to hear. I know it sounds crazy, but that's really the truth. So if you go over there and basically twist the knife in their belly about how bad it is, they don't want to talk to you. Now, could it be that there's someone who, the idea behind these gurus who teach us is, well, you're going to drive the price down by telling them how shitty the house is. They know the house is shitty. I mean, that's why you're there in the first place. But I believe you want it to be a positive experience, right? And then people have said to me, this was great. The last guy who came was just telling me how bad everything was, and you tell me that I'm not as bad as you thought it was. I want my experience to be positive because I want them to talk to me, right? I want them to sell it to me when the time comes, and it may not be right away. So, what else in this question? What should the average response? Average response, I'd say, is about 0.5%, with half of that being shit, people telling you to take me, don't ever mail me again, or yelling at you. So probably 0.25%. So on a 10,000 piece mailer, 25 leads, that's probably average. But it varies. It depends on what your list is. Also, your mail piece can be shit. That's why I always use a mail piece from a mail house that they tell me, people use and have had success with. I never design my own mail piece. I think it's a mistake. You can see some, I have some return mail right here. I basically use this doodle postcard. It looks like I wrote it by hand. I don't know if you can see it, but, it looks like doodles with little pictures. I'll use a black one sometimes, but it looks almost like handwriting. What else I got? Again, this is the doodle. I'm a big fan of the doodle. People, for some reason, think that I dropped those pieces of mail in their mailbox. People go, you left a note for me in my mailbox. Obviously, you've seen the house. You came by. And I'm like, does this guy not see the postage on it? There's no stamp on it, but it says, pre-sorted, first class. Well, the point is, there could be a million things that are wrong. You might be working off a horrible list. Right? I know somebody who mailed a list. This was a bad list. He mailed a list of, what was it? It was like corporate-owned properties, like all bank-owned. The bank's not responding to you, right? You're not going to get a response on that, right? You want to mail to people. Oh, I know a guy also, he mailed a vacant list and he mailed the property address. That's not good either, right? If nobody lives there, they may not get the mail. And he got all this return mail. If it's a vacant list, you want to mail to the mailing address, not to the subject property address. So these are easy mistakes to make. So those things happen. You get no calls. You'll know. What else? Oh, hey, John. That's basically it. I'd say those are the response rates have gotten worse and worse. But mail is cyclical. So you've got to understand. So there are a lot of people say, I don't want to mail. Mail is crazy. I don't look at my mail. But your target seller is not you. Your target seller is probably skews a lot older. So older people do look at mail, and mail does work, but you've got to accept the fact that, the 1% response days are over, because a lot of people are mailing every single list, and you've got to mail the same list multiple times. That's why, it's a dichotomy, right? I keep saying you need a big enough list. 2,000 may be too small, but a bigger lists are really expensive, right? It's almost 50 cents for a postcard now after postage. So you're talking about, if you got a list of 10,000, it's $5,000 to mail this once, and I'm telling you to list 6 times. That's 30 grand. That's a lot of money. But all these things are good too if you have the money to spend, because a lot of your competitors won't. So I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you are interested in finding out more about one-on-one coaching, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. I got to change that. What else? What else? Oh, this came from a request. I post 5 times a week. I don't always know what to say. Please keep the questions coming. You can ask any question. It does not have to be about the video you're watching. I try to get back to comments quickly, although there's a lot of Jewish holidays this month. It's hard. Um, but, if you ask me something simple, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something I've covered recently, I'll send you a link to a video on it. And if it's something new, I'll do a brand new video on it. So thank you very, very much for watching.